Welcome to this explainer. When you hear the name Switzerland, your mind probably jumps straight to towering mountains, rich chocolate, and maybe a highly secure bank account. But looking deeply into our source material today, we're going to unpack the fascinating contradictions of this nation. We'll explore exactly how untamed, vertical wilderness perfectly coexists with world-leading innovation. Is it truly the best country to live in? Let's find out.
We're starting with this really powerful idea drawn directly from our sources. A place where extremes are held in a state of perfect, peaceful equilibrium. It tells us that Switzerland isn't just, lucky. It's a society that has completely mastered the art of balance. It's a deliberate, highly engineered harmony between nature and progress and between the community and the individual.
So, let's dive right into the cultural fabric that sits directly at the heart of Europe. Because, as a confederation of 26 distinct cantons, you literally have 4 completely distinct identities managing to live as one unified nation. The vast majority speak Swiss German, representing this really industrious north that strongly adheres to values of order and hard work. But head west, and you find the French-speaking region, which moves with a slightly more relaxed cosmopolitan cadence. Then, south of the Alps, the Italian-speaking canton brings a warm, expressive Mediterranean vibe. And then there's that tiny sliver, less than 1%, speaking Romansh, which is an ancient language descended directly from the colloquial Latin of the Roman Empire. No way, right? 4 different languages, 4 very different ways of life.
So, you might be wondering, since they clearly don't share a common language, what actually holds the whole shebang together? Well, their unifying identity is forged by shared political values and a universal love for their environment. They have this fierce pride in their system of direct democracy, where ordinary citizens can literally challenge laws and vote on national issues several times a year. Add to that their famous, long-standing tradition of neutrality and an almost spiritual connection to the Alpine landscape. Whether they speak German, French, Italian, or Romansh, they absolutely all share a deep, abiding love for their mountains.
And speaking of those mountains, we really have to talk about this unmatched Switzerland beauty, because the landscape here is an active, living presence.
Nature is just deeply integrated into everyday life. 65,000 kilometers. That staggering number represents the astonishingly dense network of meticulously maintained hiking trails crisscrossing the entire country. To put that into perspective for a second, that is more than enough trail to wrap all the way around the Earth, with plenty to spare.
And you navigate these trails using the Wanderweg. If you've been there, you can almost smell the sharp scent of pine and hear the clanging of cowbells just thinking about it. These ubiquitous, bright yellow signposts guide walkers with exact precision. They give you info on destinations and estimated walking times for literally everything, from a gentle lakeside stroll to a highly challenging, high-altitude trek. It democratizes the outdoors, making it incredibly accessible for absolutely everyone.
But how do you actually tame such a wild, vertical environment? Well, that brings us to their modern infrastructure. He used what's called the takt fire plan, or a clock-face schedule. Think of it as this invisible thread of punctuality that creates perfect synchronicity across the whole country. It means that the train scheduled for 8:02 a.m. departs at exactly 8:02 a.m., not 8:03. This incredible reliability allows for entirely predictable, stress-free connections between trains, buses, and yes, even the lake steamers.
And to make all those routes possible, you have these absolute engineering masterpieces, like the Gotthard Base Tunnel, which is the longest in the world. This is a defining paradox of Swiss life. They tunnel straight through formidable, massive mountain barriers to keep the nation seamlessly connected, all while drastically reducing their reliance on cars just to keep that alpine air clean. Now, this exact same precision totally fuels their economy, shaping a unique work life that brings in some of the highest salaries globally. It's a huge reason why youth unemployment is remarkably low. Sure, you have your traditional academic paths at world-class universities like ETH Zurich or EPFL, but what's really cool is the dual-track apprenticeship. Trades are highly respected here. Young people get paid on-the-job training combined with classroom theory, providing a direct, highly practical path into a skilled profession. And it's celebrated just as much as a university degree.
So where are all these highly skilled professionals working?
Beyond the famous finance hubs in Zurich and Geneva, or the global leaders in pharmaceuticals over in Basel, you have centuries of luxury watchmaking craftsmanship in the Jura Mountains. But actually, scratch that. The real hidden engine is the Mittelstand. These are small, family-owned businesses tucked away in small towns that are actually global niche leaders. This incredibly diverse economic network is exactly what drives those highest salaries in the world.
And with those high salaries comes a really serious, focused work culture, but it's balanced by a healthy daily rhythm. The morning starts quietly with fresh bread from the local bakery. At 9 a.m., the workday pauses for zuni, a little second breakfast to recharge. And when evening descends, there's the apéro, a pre-dinner drink with colleagues to unwind. The absolutely crucial takeaway here is the rigid boundary between professional and personal life. When work is done, it is truly done.
But to maintain this low-stress environment, residents adhere to a highly organized, unspoken social contract. We're talking strict quiet hours in the evenings, over lunchtime, and all day on Sundays. Seriously, don't even think about mowing your lawn on a Sunday. In apartment buildings, communal laundry rooms operate on rigid schedules, and recycling? It's treated as a meticulous civic duty. Glass is separated by color, cardboard is neatly bundled and tied with string. Individual freedom is definitely enjoyed, but never, ever at the expense of community peace.
So, to truly evaluate if this is the best country to live in, we have to look at the flip side.
Because everything we've covered sounds incredible, right? But the price of absolute perfection is steep. The very quality of life that makes Switzerland attractive means an astronomically high cost of living, with housing in major cities being immensely expensive. There's also mandatory pricey private health insurance. And beyond the financial costs, there is immense internal cultural pressure to maintain these famously high standards of perfection, order, and punctuality. Plus, because the culture can be somewhat reserved, integrating as an outsider can be a really slow process.
Furthermore, the nation constantly walks a tightrope. Think about it. How do you welcome millions of global tourists without destroying the pristine Alpine ecosystem that attracted them in the first place? Through direct democracy, citizens are constantly forced to negotiate this fragile tension between globalization and preservation, debating things like new ski lifts or large events on a regular basis. So, as we wrap up this explainer, I want to leave you with a final thought to chew on. Does the perfect balance of unparalleled beauty and high salaries outweigh the massive cost of living and the intense social pressure required to maintain it? It's undoubtedly a marvel of human organization, beautifully engineering Europe's Alpine paradise, but it demands a lot from those who call it home. What do you think? Thank you so much for exploring this with me today, and I'll catch you on the next one.